AITA for not wanting to apologize for calling out my aunts at a wedding? I, 26F, have been with my partner, 27F, for 5 years, and we are getting married next year. Overall, the wedding planning has gone pretty smoothly until now. For context, there is a large age gap in my family when it comes to the grandchildren on my mother's side. My dad's an only child. My mother had me in her mid-20s and my 2 aunts waited till they were in their late 30s to have kids, so I've just been more of an extra aunt to a lot of my cousins, as there's about 4 of them, all between 6 and 10, all girls, except for my cousin Kate, 25F, who is the daughter of my mother's older brother. Now I love my family, I do, but my aunts have always been the kind of parents who can never say no to their precious children, and that has resulted in them being spoilt brats. Over the last decade, there has not been one family event that hasn't been ruined in some capacity by a child having a tantrum over something stupid. In the last year alone, we've had tantrums over not wanting to leave a party even though the party place was closing, not having the correct flavor of strawberry ice cream at our grandfather's 85th birthday, or just getting a pack of hair bows that didn't match each other's, and many others that TBH the reason why are so stupid they feel made up. And these tantrums are bad, like the full screaming, pounding the floor, and enough tears to water a field until their mothers give in to their demands. The husbands are just real walkovers, TBH, and let their wives deal with the kids. It took a long time to even bring my partner to one of our many family events just because I always knew these tantrums were gonna happen, and I didn't want to scare her away. I work with kids, so I know this is beyond not normal behavior of kids, and I know the lack of discipline is to blame, but I've never been in the position to call it out, cause in my family it's very much if you don't have kids your opinion of how to raise them doesn't count, but as the kids have gotten older it's gotten so much worse. Now on to the wedding planning. We are not having a large wedding cause neither of us want it. Between our family members we want there and our friends. It's just over 100 people. My partner's family has no kids under 16, and when the idea of having a child-free wedding came up it was clear my partner liked the idea of no one under 16, and TBH I was happy with it, as well as our dogs were gonna fill the roles of ring bearer and flower girl anyway, and we both knew there was gonna be at least one tantrum and neither of us wanted to subject our friends and her family to those. My parents and grandparents agreed that it would be nice to have no kids for a change, and with that, we sent the invitations out. Not long after the invitations went out, we had my cousin Kate's wedding. She grew up 3 hours away and hasn't turned up to really any family events in the last decade, but her mother made her invite everyone to show off as there were over 400 people. Don't get me wrong, you could tell a lot of money was put into the event, and it was lovely, but I personally wouldn't have liked it for my day. Her new husband had a niece and nephew, so they did the flower girl and ring bearer roles, and yes, there were tantrums thrown when that news broke, and it only took 5 minutes into the wedding for a tantrum to happen cause one of the kids wanted to sit of the front and not a few pews back. My partner has gotten into the habit after 4 years of these events of keeping track of the tantrums on her notes app, and she counted 3 in the church alone. It only got worse as it was raining after, and the kids didn't want to wear jackets to get to the car, and many tears happened. The meal wasn't much better, but thankfully, we were at the head table with my grandparents away from it, but you couldn't not hear the whining and shouting occasionally throughout the meal. Things got bad when, at some point before dessert, 2 of the kids came up to me and asked why they were not invited to my wedding as they had been for Kate's. A bit stunned, I just replied that the place we were having it was only for adults. That obviously was the wrong answer cause almost immediately another tantrum about how apparently their parents had promised them they would be the flower girls at my wedding erupted. Thankfully they're small for their age, so it was pretty easy to pick them up and move them away from the head table, which was on a stage and away from people staring. While this was happening, my parents were confronted by my aunts asking how was it that their kids were not invited. My parent just repeated the same thing as I had said, and this also wasn't good enough. At this point, my grandfather and I were behind them with 2 of their screaming children. I honestly don't know what came over me, but I blurted out, "You really cannot see why I might not want to have your children there on my wedding day? Can you please stop discussing this right now? Is not the time and people are already staring at us." And left. Well, let's just say that while most of my family agreed with what I said, now my aunts are refusing to attend the wedding until I apologize to them and their kids and invite them. Some family members think it was the wrong time to say anything or just apology to keep the peace, but honestly I don't want to, as I don't think what I said was that bad, especially considering the thing I knew that the groom's family were saying after the wedding from what I heard from Kate and her new husband.